if the non-Indians do not want to join us, it is not our fault. You know, I have spoken personally to almost all the NGO leaders in Malaysia, all the opposition leaders in Malaysia. I have told them this, that let's say Kenny Ong, you take off Kenny Ong, you put Mangama there, it wouldn't get attention. The WAO, the women's groups, they don't bother. Okay, the worst case scenario of human rights violations in Malaysia, for example, is the Kampung Medan incident, tragedy, where 6 people were killed and 100 over were severely injured. There was pin drop silence by the Malaysian civil society. In the worst case of human rights violations in Malaysia, but pin drop silence from Malaysian civil society, opposition parties, NGOs. Okay, and I went to London 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, on my asylum to London. I had to leave the country. I had the chance to browse through the international reports of Amnesty International, International Commission of Juries, OMHT and whatnot for that year 2001. There was not a mention of Kampung Medan, though it was the most serious case of violation of human rights in Malaysia. There was not a single word, not a mention of Kampung Medan attacks. Why? Why are the NGOs, civil society and opposition party, why are they being racist? They are trying to play to the racial gallery. I think that's not right. Whereas I did my law studies in England, I have seen how the civil society in the West, basically the majority, they bend backwards to take care of the interests of the minority. That is the civil society in England. Because the majority somehow will be taken care of. Whereas the minority is the minority who needs help. I have seen it for myself in England. I was there for 5 years, I did my law studies there. Whereas in Malaysia, the reverse happens, in the sense that the minority and the majority, they like to champion majoritarian issues. They want to play to the racial gallery. You see, Chinese and Malays form 90% of the population. That leaves us with the Orang Asli. The Orang Asli, they get funding from overseas to do Orang Asli work. There's a group doing Orang Asli work. There's funding for migrant workers. Okay, there are people who take care of migrant workers' interests. That leaves us only with the Indians. So who is going to do it? So if the opposition party do not want to do, NGOs and civil society do not want to do, let's say Hindraf also doesn't do, which nobody has been doing over the last 50 years. The reason for such serious problems plaguing the Indian community today, besides UMNO's racist policies in Malaysia, this is also a contributory factor. So if we don't do, as was what was happening in the last 50 years, nobody would do it. So we were left with no choice but to focus on Indian issues, to focus on temple demolishment, to focus on Tamil schools not being made fully aided after 50 years of independence. Many schools look like cow sheds. I have not seen one Chinese or one Malay school which looks like this Tamil school, which looks like a cow herd. But how come the civil society opposition, how come nobody speaks about it? UMNO doesn't talk about it, even they do not talk about it. So they cannot accuse Hindraf of being racist when they should check on their own selves to see whether they are actually racial or not. But having said that, the good thing that happened after the Hindraf rally, even the opposition now has taken stock, the NGOs have taken stock. People have the opposition NGOs who normally choose to turn the other way around, have started taking Indian issues more seriously. I think this is a new beginning. New beginning to not only UMNO, but also the opposition and the civil society and NGOs to treat an issue as an issue. Go by the gravity or the seriousness of the issue, not by ethnicity. Okay, you see Noreen Jazlin, whole 2-3 weeks, so much of attention given. Had it been Muniyama, nobody bothers. The press won't bother. The TV won't bother. Okay? So, I missed out the press. It's actually also the press. Opposition, NGOs and the press, they don't bother. They don't highlight Indian issues as according to the gravity or according to the seriousness of it. So here we are saying, look, it's a serious problem. Please pay attention to it. But it's just unfortunate that we are Indians and we have to champion Indian issues because the other communities are not interested. So ideally speaking, yes, it should be the Malays and Chinese. As I told you just now, it would have solved the problem if only Anwar Ibrahim, Hadi Awang and Lim Pik Siang spoke firmly on a forum, let's say, don't break Hindu temples. It is wrong, it's unconstitutional. against Rukun Negara, against Section 295 of the Penal Code, defiling a place. It is wrong. Badawi lay off. I'm 100% sure Badawi will lay off. But because they will lose Malay votes, they choose to remain silent. So who is racist now?